It's way too much damage. Stop him with the block! He fell Churchill!
Oh, and he found
wow.
Wow.
Oh, what?
He gets out!
Somewhere there's a covert muffin just applauding this seed.
Holy crap.
Oh man, this is gonna come down to execution in the final escape, isn't it?
Sure is.
Every seed
Our
does.
favorite phrase.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I'm Roos SR, and I was just about to watch a race of Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition Randomizer between Grimelios and Apple. I will be joined on commentary today by my good friend, Sunny Muffins. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and how about yourself?
Excellent. I'm definitely looking forward to this race. We've got two very cool runners here. First off, we're going to have Apple, who was seated 24th from the preliminaries. Apple is a controller runner, and she just does randomizers, no other speedruns. So very cool to see a lot of people super interested in rando here. And if you see her notes there, she says that she manages to sleep standing up on several occasions. So hopefully she doesn't fall asleep during the seed.
Yeah, that'd be rather non-conducive to playing Ori. And on the left, we have Grimelios, who is seed number 9. He is also a controller player and is pretty happy about that because then there is the control scheme parity. I know we had the chance to chat with Grimelios a little bit before the race, and he said that even if they do get grenade jumps, probably won't use them because it's a difficult trick to perform on controller. And he was also hoping for a longer seed rather than a jet seed, just to potentially make his advantage a little bit better throughout the run.
Very cool. So one of the things that's going to be neat about this seed is these players have both opted to select the grenade starved setting, which means grenade is just going to be buried deeper in logic than it normally could be. And both of these players run on controller, and I know as a general trend, controller players don't tend to like the bash and grenade starts because it's just a little bit quicker and easier to aim and move around with those with a keyboard and a mouse. So not too surprising to see these controller players opt in for that. They can always still find it later, but they're both definitely hoping it doesn't show up super early on in the game.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to be getting started here any moment now. So age-old question, what do you think the first pickup is going to be?
Well, I'm going to hope that it's bash, and then grenade shows up as like the earliest possible pickup it can be in the starved seed, so that these runners can't escape from their bash grenade woes.
Oh, that would be glorious. I think we're going to probably see an early dash in this seed.
Early dash would be very nice because then even if they do find their bash and grenade, it's kind of not as big of a deal. Part of the problem with bash grenade without other ways to move quickly is that you just kind of have to throw grenades and bash off it all the time. Like if you want to move in quickly, you need to be doing that constantly. But if you have dash, that's not really the case anymore.
All right, and it looks like we are off. As always, the runner's spamming that Control-T hotkey to get the good luck on your rando popping up. And our first pickup is an energy cell. That is a very convenient first pickup. It's going to add some early game safety. Our runners are going to be running through the early game with 2 energy instead of just the normal 1. So hopefully we're going to see them drop some more safety saves just in case.
Yeah, and if they find something like Charge Flame early on as well, they're going to be very happy to have that because until you get some upgrades later on, that is going to continue to use up your energy reserves. And there's our first progression. That is Climb. What does Climb mean for our runners?
So our runners now have wall interaction. So Climb being one of 2 skills that allow you to interact with walls. I think it's the least preferable of the 2 because it just attaches you to the wall and you don't get to jump off of it. But that also means we get to see some pretty high skill ceiling climb ramps if we don't get more movement before they have to go into Blackroot Burrows.
Absolutely. So we're going to see them go off to the left here almost certainly and check a couple of pickups over here. And if that doesn't find them new progression, they are going to have to go into Blackroot Burrows. Now, You can do basically all of the relevant stuff early on in Blackroot Burrows with just climb here. That said, there is one pickup down to the bottom left that's pretty tricky to do. It's not guaranteed that every runner is going to know exactly how to do that with just climb. You can also just kind of like ride a slow platform around if you don't do it, if you don't want to do the climb method, but it does lose some time. These runners did both find the keystones on both of these pickups here, so they actually can continue to the left, which we are seeing both of them opt to do.
Yeah, that's actually fairly lucky to get the 2 keystones as the pickups right there, both very vanilla locations, because it does enable them to move further into Spirit Caverns without having to backtrack and go the long way around or anything like that. The keystone on Fake Flippers doesn't really tell us too much. We usually hope to either find a skill or some experience down there so we can get some clues as to what the seed is kind of leaning toward, but with that keystone, no extra information provided by that Fake Flippers check.
Yeah, and I for sure like this decision to keep going off to the left. Because this is the Force Trees mode, these players are going to need to visit every skill tree location in the game. And whether they choose to go to Blackroot or this direction, there is a skill tree in both of these directions that they can reach. But there's just a lot more pickups over here. So they're giving themselves more of a chance to find something valuable skill-wise, like double jump, charge jump, or dash or something like that. And if they find that, they can speed up their trip to Blackroot Burrows later.
Yeah, and with the climb start, runners can basically full clear this lower loop here. There's one check that they won't be able to get that you need a lot more verticality for, and there is glide on Grimelios' side. That doesn't really do anything in the early game, but it will be a very comfy Sorrow Pass now with that skill picked up.
Yeah, that's one of those. It's a pickup that's like, I'd say one of the less critical ones to find in a randomizer for your ability to complete it, but in terms of like your comfort level, it's huge. Like I'd say like glide and double jump are the two skills where I see it and I'm just like, all right, this is going to be a really cozy seed now that I have this.
Yeah, and Grimelios hitting the first tree while Apple is picking up her glide on that side of the screen. We see a little bit of a time difference here. Apple did wind up pushing the block, whereas Grim did the damage boost. That might have just been a comfort thing, but yeah, that's part of the reason why Grim is ahead going down. I think he's probably going to go into Blackroot here.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much. So there's 2 real options they have here. They can go into Blackroot, or they could go back to the left and go into the Spirit Caverns area, which does have a decent number of pickups, but it's a long walk over there, and the exit out of that area is a door that requires 4 keystones. And you only have so many keystones early in the seed, so I think it's a pretty reasonable play to choose to go into Blackroot instead. It's an area you're going to need to visit, and you might find some other progression while you're in here, and not force yourself to spend all those keystones on the sunken or the Spirit Caverns door.
Well, yeah, and you don't want to get locked out with not having enough keystones. Like if there was only 1 in Spirit Caverns, you would have had to come back through Blackroot anyway, and then potentially retrace your steps. So
Yep.
this pathing, I think, has the least amount of opportunity to have to retrace. And then again, having glide here is actually going to make these climb ramps so much easier. It's going to be really comfy for the runners.
Let's keep a quick eye on the left-hand side of the screen here. This is Grimelios trying to do these climb ramps to get up to this pickup here. This is that one I was talking about that's a little tricky to get to with climb. Glide definitely making this easier. You can see he was able to glide that short little distance across there, so he doesn't need to be quite as precise with making sure to get the maximum height out of these jumps here. And he's up. Very well done.
Yeah, as someone that just learned that climb ramp, that ramp is awful. You basically have to have momentum. Oh, and there is Stomp, ignoring what I'm saying. That is a big skill pickup. Now our runners can break the horizontal floors, which are going to be persistent throughout several areas of the randomizer.
Yeah, it's sort of, we're getting an interesting cluster of skills here. You'll notice if you look at like the tracking wheels, we've kind of got skills that are further into the game. The 3 skills we've gotten, none of them actually change that much about what they can do in the early game, but they're all very useful to have later. Particularly Stomp is mostly useful for its ability to get you access to the left side of the map, which is not someplace we're really going to want to be going until later, just because things are so difficult over there. We're going to want better skills. So, despite having found 3 skills, our ability to do things in the early game isn't that fantastic yet.
Yeah, so our runners are progressing very nicely through Blackroot. It looks like Apple is working on the climb ramp. It is not an easy trick by any means. while Grim is doing some of the slower auto-scrollery sections. I think the interesting thing to look for is going to be what they do after they pick up this dash tree, because you can get into lower Blackroot with this skill set, but it is not the easiest thing in the world.
Trying to think about what's down there. I'm not 100% clear on the logic. There may be a few pickups down there that is in logic with their current set of skills. I'm thinking about, like, there's that one where you can duck under the laser a little bit further down, but there's not a ton that they can do down there. I think if they find nothing else, going over to Spirit Caverns and maybe continuing out into the Hollow Grove area is probably where I'd look. But there's definitely several options available to these runners.
Yeah, it seems like the seed is pointing them in a fairly linear direction. They're going to have enough keystones to get through Spirit Caverns. They're really not finding too much here in Blackroot. Grim is going to be checking underneath these crushers. This is out of logic without dash, so it doesn't really glean anything. It is a lower experience number, so that might potentially be that dash is earlier in the seed, but we don't know.
The truck did confirm for us that nothing further down in Blackroot is actually in logic. So if they do those are all out of logic text, but definitely something that these runners would be able to do if they chose to do so.
Yeah, and Grim checking.
Do want to call attention to the fact that they did find the Valley teleporter, which can get them over to some left side pickups. You can find the teleporters as pickups in this game, and the logic is smart enough to know whether or not you should be able to go through those teleporters and things like that. So that is another potential avenue of exploration they have. But it looks like Grim here is going to be doing the Spirit Caverns play I talked about earlier.
Yeah, and I think that's just the way the logic is pointing them. They have a bunch of extra keystones. They have a skill set that can clear out this area, all but the one pickup that is locked by verticality. Interesting to note, he did not continue into lower Blackroot. We'll see what Apple does here. She's just going to be picking up this tree here and then checking under the crushers, and we'll see if she decides to follow him into Spirit Caverns.
One definite thing of note, you'll notice that Grim has 3 keystones right now rather than 4. If he gets to this door and wants to continue through it, he can leave the area by a little bit and set a save down and do a key duplication here. This is a slow key duplication, though. Okay, he just found his 4th, so that actually will not be relevant unless he just chooses to do it to prevent himself from getting keystone locked. Wow, that was... Okay, what he just did there was a pretty precise setup to get onto a little ledge where you actually are standing instead of holding with climb so that you can jump over there. That is much more difficult than Grimelios made that look.
Yeah, and it is aided a little bit by glide there, making the actual jump component of it a little bit easier. And Grim is setting up to key dupe in Spirit Caverns. He's not comfortable with this keystone amount. He does have enough to make it through the door, but by key duping here, it's going to potentially open up some avenues to rush trees earlier rather than later and try to pick up keystones later. Meanwhile, Apple is continuing into lower BRB here. We'll see if she finds anything.
So that first pickup that she just got, the 52 experience, that was the only thing down here that's in logic, I do believe, but the rest could still have something useful. In the last Ori Randomizer tournament, I lost a race because I didn't have ability points to check down here, and Charge Jump was here, and it ended up biting me really hard. So definitely a worthwhile check to make, even if it's not in logic.
Yeah, and Grim executing that key dupe pretty easily. I know he said he likes to do this trick, so he's very comfortable with it. It is a little bit wonky to kind of die right there because there's nothing really that can kill you that's within range of that door. So he had to do a backflip right there to backflip into damage to kill himself.
So Appietreee over on the right was able to use Stomp onto this peg here that actually opens up the way into Moon Grotto here, which is pretty cool. It is, oh my. So real quick, it's out of logic, but it is a very dense area to go check. But Apple just found a pretty cool skill as well. What did they find?
Oh man, that is big. So that is Grenade. So we currently have 2 out of 3 pieces of the Triforce for Grenade jumps, even though they're both controller runners. But Grenade is going to allow blue breakage. So Grim had to open the Keystone door up here, and Apple's going to be able to hit the Charge Flame tree without opening that Keystone door, because she can now break these blue walls as well as plants.
Yeah, like even before, oh my goodness, there's more blue plant breakage. So even before any relevant pickups are found on blue plant breakage. You saw how much time Grimelios had to invest in his key duplication there. Like that's roughly the amount of time that Apple will just like right off the bat save over him from finding that that grenade, because she's not going to have to go through that door at all now.
Yeah, that charge flame pickup, though, that is something that Grim will find very, very quickly after picking up this left side valley entry pickups. So he won't be without blue breakage for too long, which is really, really comfy to have. That means that there won't be too much of an advantage gained by the early grenade find.
All right, so we should expect Grimelios to go to that tree and find his charge flame there and have access to blue plant breakage. Let's see where Apple chooses to go next. She has several options here. They have a lot of teleporters. I will draw attention to the fact that Grimelios found the Sorrow teleporter, which they can't really do anything with just yet, but that will come in very handy later on. And there's Grim finding that charge flame pickup.
All right, so they both now have right side access. Apple is doing this access from the BRB area, it looks like, whereas Grim could potentially go over into Spider Sack area, because with Glide, you can actually open the lever, when normally you would have to have wall jump to do that.
All right, so it's really nice to have blue plant breakage when you come into Moon Grotto here, because there are so many of those plants. It's not at all unusual to like have this area in logic quite early before you have any blue plant breakage, and it's just really inconvenient to have to like come back later to check all of those. So anytime you're coming here and you have the ability to check those, it's definitely like really comfy and nice to have. We will have to keep our eye on the right-hand side of the screen and see what Apple is able to find down here.
Yeah, this entire area of Gumon's hideout is in logic for her, but the logical access is going to be the way that Grim is going. So if anything is in the Spider Sack area or the upper Swamp Loop, Apple is going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball. But if there's nothing up here, she's going to have a large advantage getting her access through BRB.
Yeah, sort of what we're seeing between the two. Grimelios is going the direction the seed was intending. And sometimes that can mean that it's more likely that something useful for progression is here because the seed knew it needed to place something. But the area that Apple is in is just like more dense with pickups, so she's kind of like taking the area that's just giving her more chances statistically to find something, even though Grim may be in some place where it's like the odds are weighted slightly in his favor, even if there's fewer pickups.
Yeah, and it looks like Apple is really aggressively going trees. She does skip the mini boss, just kind of going for those quick checks. No energy vault, no grotto mini boss, and just making her way through and gonna get down to that double jump tree very, very early.
And Grimelios is doing a trick where you can open a 4 energy door with 3 energy, and you do it by leaving the range of the door at the same frame that you put energy into it. Unfortunately, didn't get rewarded for it, but Grim is just doing a lot of these really difficult tricks super quickly. He actually got that one first try, so showing like a lot of confidence in his execution here. Definitely looking good for him in this seed if he's able to hold up with doing these tricks so quickly like this.
Yeah, and it looks like so far Apple really hasn't found too much in the Gumo hideout area, so it'll be interesting to see where she goes after picking up this double jump tree. Meanwhile, Grim is making his way through the Spider Sack area. Again, this is not a very dense area, but it is the way that the logic is intending for these runners to go. So he is potentially looking for some more skills that might help him in his eventual grotto clear.
Yeah, and so once we get off to the right here, I would probably expect to see Grim. He's going to have to go up top, I believe, unless he wants to do... Actually, he doesn't even have wall jump. I don't even know if he can do iceless here. I would expect to see him continue up and around the swamp loop from here. Appietreee is probably going to need to do something fairly similar. I think that's the biggest area that's currently open to her, unless she wants to maybe start going through teleporters.
Yeah, and it looks like she's just going to be following Grim up through Spirit Caverns and potentially over into the Valley entry area. She is doing a really, really good job of keeping up with these map stones that they're finding, because if you miss map stones and there's something that's on a later map stone count, it can potentially burn you. So she's being very thorough in that regard.
I missed it when these players got to their third tree. Did you happen to catch what the clue they got on their first tree was?
Yeah, it was Gumon's seal, so they're not super concerned with that. They were definitely hoping to see a water vein or a sunstone clue there, especially with how aggressively they were pushing those first 3 trees.
Yeah, definitely never super happy to see your Gumon Seal clue first because you want to find the Water Vein or Sunstone clue to give give yourself a little bit of a clue as to what area you're going to want to be thorough in. This definitely leaves the potential for them to like not find a Water Vein or a Sunstone until super deep into the seed because of late clues.
Yeah, and on the right we see Apple doing that same micro ledge trick that Grim did. Again, this is a little. Oh, she didn't use glide. That is impressive. That is a very difficult trick to get to that pickup over there on the left hand side of Spirit Caverns. But now we'll see if she decides to dip into the Valley entry or just head Spider Sack area following Grim.
On the left-hand side, Grimelios is up to 4 energy now, and so is able to open the door off to the right-hand side of the starting area. That is access to the Death Gauntlet, and through that, Moon Grotto. I feel pretty confident that Grimelios is going to continue through that door and go do an exploration of Grotto. Grotto is extremely pickup dense, and even though we know from seeing Apple do it that it's unlikely, there's not much there. Like, there are some checks that she didn't do that maybe Grim could find something in. You know, in terms of what Grim knows at this point, it's definitely a super smart decision to go to Grotto and check that very dense area.
Yeah, and I think I really like this play from Grim. Checking this area, it's something that you don't technically have to do. If he was continuing on through the swamp loop and down to Kumo's hideout through that, you would not have to check this area, but it is fairly dense, and he has the skill set to get pretty close to full clearing it. But then he needs to eventually make his way down to the double jump tree anyway, so pathing this direction, doing some pickups along the way, just being very efficient.
Yeah, and you know, both of these runners are doing a good job of full checking areas as they can. Eventually, some new progression is going to show up. Weirdly, like everything we've found so far has been something that doesn't open that many things. So really, like the remaining skills are all things that would really blow the seed wide open. Like if they found Bash or Charge Jump all of a sudden, like then very quickly their ability to go to places like left side or into like the stomp area or something like that open up quite a bit.
Yeah, so we know what a lot of these pickups down in Gumo's hideout are, but the ones that we don't are the ones locked by those 4 energy, which Grim does have logically. So we could potentially see something down in the Grotto Vault that is progression, or one of like the random one-off checks that neither player has made the time to go to.
Apple also doing the little exploit to open the 4 energy door with just 3. Both of these runners got it super quickly. It's very impressive. That's a trick with a 1/60th of a second timing. So happy to see them both able to pull that off so quickly.
Oh, Grim going for this glide vault with climb and glide. This is not a very comfy skill set to clear out this area, but it is technically in logic, so there potentially might be progression locked here. It is just not fun to clear out these slimes while trying to climb this shaft.
Yeah, you can see how awkward it is to try and like get enough upwards momentum and then glide over to the other side without running into these spikes. Really nasty. Finds wall jump though. That's a big reward for doing that. Very much worth it to have done that now.
Yeah, that's going to make their movement a little bit more comfy. They're not going to have to do any of the crazy climb ramps or anything like that. So potentially it's going to make things easier for them. I anticipate Grim is going to fully clear out the Gumo's hideout area. He just needs to continue to be thorough because we don't know where progression is at this point.
Yeah, it was particularly mean for that to be wall jump there just because that would have made the check itself much easier to have. So just kind of like a, hey, wouldn't this have been nice type of moment.
Oh no, Grim is orphaning the Gumo hideout vault there. So he's not going down to check that 4 energy door either. So currently neither runner is going to have an advantage from that.
Definitely interesting. He is down. Looks like he's going to check the mini boss. With their current skill set, that's not a bad decision. You can use Charge Flame or Stomp to redirect the enemy's projectile back at him. If you're just using your default attack, this boss is really slow. But if you have something like Charge Jump or Charge Flame to be able to kill it quickly, it's a much more viable check to make. We didn't see Apple do this, so this is new information here.
Yeah, Grim doing those Charge Flame redirects on the projectile from the mini boss. That was a very clean kill, a 2 cycle.
All right, so if we want to find new information, I think what we're looking for right now is for Apple to continue up and to the right, as it does appear that she's doing. She's going to be going into the swamp loop, which is going to be uncharted territory for our runners here. Given that we're a little dried up on progression, I feel like the chances that she finds something good in the swamp loop here are pretty high. This is one of the biggest areas they still have yet to check.
Yeah, I think that they are definitely going to find something, and with her out of logic grenade pickup, she's going to be able to full clear this upper swamp loop if she so chooses. But it looks like she's bailing on that plan and heading over into Death Gauntlet.
Oh, interesting. Both of these players are very allergic to the swamp loop right now. A little bit interesting to see that. There's there are a lot of places they can go, so trying to decide exactly what priority you want to take is a little tough. They might be saying like, okay, I want to put off the swamp loop as long as possible until I can get to the stomp tree while I'm doing it, something like that.
Yeah, and it seems like that is probably going to bite them, because they are not going to be able to find anything in that upper swamp loop, which I think, with our knowledge, we know that progression is likely hiding there.
Well, fortunately, both runners seem to be also like equally putting off going to that area. So what you really don't like to see in a race is like one person just getting lucky and finding all the progression and the other person not. As long as they equally are getting blocked by this progression, then we still have ourselves a close race.
Yeah, it looks like Grim is doing a underwater check here with his 4 energy, and that is nothing. That is a very relatively large experience value, so from that we can kind of deduce that clean water is not going to be something that they find very soon.
Okay, looks like Apple is going to be making this check over here as well. We'll find that wall jump for just a little bit of more comfortable wall interaction and things like that. In terms of the skills that she could be finding, not the best. Oh, I guess maybe she's bailing on it? Yep, just going to continue down into Gumo's hideout here. Decides that check is not worth it. Missing out on wall jump is not that big a deal. It's definitely one of the skills you can leave out and still finish your seed out pretty easily.
Yeah, she did take the lower entry into Gumo's hideout, so just making sure to kind of clean up these 2 upper checks, the water vein vanilla location as well as the XP cell over on the right hand side. Meanwhile, Grim is checking a not often checked experience cell over on the left side of Gumo's hideout, so maybe that is where our progression is hiding.
It is just a health cell. Yeah, that's a lot of time to invest for it to end up not paying off. The longer this goes, the more and more interesting it is that they are not looking at the swamp loop. I think the 2 big areas still that are jumping out to me are this area that Grim is headed to right now, and that swamp loop that both players have come very close to, but not actually gone and checked.
Yeah, it seems like we are getting a convergence here. Both players are in the exact same location. So if there is something down here, like Bash on Grimelios' side,
that is Bash. That is huge, as they say.
Yeah, that is going to be gigantic. Bash is just one of the best skills in the randomizer. It opens up so many checks, and now Grim is going to be very, very happy about grabbing that. Meanwhile, Apple also grabbing her Bash, so we are basically all tied up right now.
You know what that means, though, is these players who wanted to avoid Bash Nade are now going to be using Bash Nade movement for the rest of the seed until they find Dash or something like that.
Yeah, for sure, but they're going to be able to, at this point, the rest of the seed is going to be fairly comfy. Grim is trying to do a very difficult rock slide here, so he does have the 4 energy to unlock this lower grotto area, but instead is opting to do this rock slide where you can kind of ride the right-hand side of the rock and drop in between the lasers. It is a very difficult trick, and as we see here, he's struggling with it a little bit, but it's pretty impressive to get it, so... And there
he goes, got it. Anytime that trick ends up actually working at all, it feels good. It's an incredibly finicky trick, even if you know exactly what you're doing with it.
Yeah, so I think at this point, our runners are going to probably just be pushing trees. They're going to be wanting to get that water vein clue and that sunstone clue. That's going to give them a little bit more information of what zones they're going to need to dig more into. That Bash pickup really just unlocks a whole lot of the map. They could head into Valley, they could go into the Swamp Loop. Oh, there's double jump on Apple's side, the Swamp Loop area. That's going to be some very comfy movement for her.
Yeah, all of a sudden we're completely spoiled for abilities here. They really don't need anything else as far as skills, I don't think. They just need to find their clues for those dungeon keys. And of course, they would very much like to find bash and charge jump still. Or sorry, dash and charge jump still. But I would very much expect to see these players start cutting out any of the inconvenient checks and just start pushing towards these trees to get their clues. We see Apple on the right is doing the swamp entry trick from All Skills, where you get this frog over here and use his shots to break into the inner swamp loop here.
Yeah, and notably, Grim is not going to be able to pick up that double jump check. He still doesn't have that grenade pickup that was on the Indiana Jones boulder check that Apple has already got. So he's going to be without really good verticality for a good amount of time, and that actually is going to be fairly impactful, not being able to do the bash nade strats.
Yeah, with a little bit of creative work with the Frankie here, or the frog, he is still able to do this trick, but yeah, lacking that double jump is going to make quite a bit of this movement more difficult. Keep in mind that even though the water here does look nice and pretty, because they have not found clean water, it is still poisonous, so they can't go for any significant swimming through here. And the part that Apple is at right now, having that double jump pickup is going to make this part considerably easier.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see when Grim decides to eventually go into lower black root. I know he really does like to follow the logic, so I'm going to be interested to see if he's going to look out for that dash pickup, or if he's just going to go into it with the skills that he has. He's obviously able to do all of those checks, especially with Stomp. That pickup is going to be very easy to get once he decides to go down there.
If I was to kind of venture a guess, knowing what kind of player Grim is, I would expect him to put it off for a very long time. Because he has access to like quite a few tree areas right now, I think he's going to keep putting that one off until he finds dash and knows that he can just go down and get the tree down there, which is kind of unfortunate for him because, you know, he would get rewarded with some important skills, but, you know, that's how Randomizer works sometimes.
Yeah, so both runners picking up the Stomp tree here. This is tree number 5, so we're going to get the clue on the next one. Apple is heading into lower Blackroot burrows. She will probably just go quickly down to this grenade tree and get that clue for where the water van or the sunstone location is.
Yeah, and so sort of like the worst case scenario for Grim here is that it turns out one of those keys is grenade locked because he doesn't have his grenade yet. There are some locations in this game that you simply just cannot get any other way other than having grenade, and so Apple doesn't need to worry about those. There are also some that are completely stomp locked, but these runners have stomp already, so they do not need to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, it does look like Grim is making a revisit to Blackroot Burrows here. That is very fortunate. Hopefully he doesn't just dip into lower BRB and does continue to the Indiana Jones area and picks up what we know is grenade. I think with his skill set, he's probably pretty comfortable, just needs a little bit more verticality to finish out this seed.
Yeah, even once he finds this grenade, it would be a little bit tough for him to go back to where double jump is because he has pretty thoroughly cleared out that area. Now that said, that is kind of like a hub area on that part of the map, so it's not inconceivable that he would pass through there again. But, you know, if he completely skips going back there, I wouldn't be all that surprised either.
Yeah, and this is not looking good for Grim. He did not continue into the Indiana Jones area and just went straight into lower BRB to pick up this grenade tree. So he will likely be orphaning that grenade pickup for quite some time. And coincidentally, unless he finds something with a little bit more verticality, he's also going to be orphaning that double jump pickup. So Apple definitely has the better movement set right here, and she is a little bit ahead on trees.
Yeah, so a lot of this is going to come down to if Grim is able to find another good verticality skill, such as charge jump. I think that's the best thing that he could find at this point. Obviously, would still very much like to find dash as well. A big problem for Grim right now is you're going to have to go up the Ginso tree to get the bash tree, and without verticality and without dash, you can't even do like the charge dash ramps to get up that. So he's really lacking an ability to get up that tree right now, but he can still go and decide to push his left side for now.
Oh, and we saw the Sunstone hint. It is locked in Valley. That is going to be potentially grenade locked. It could potentially be climb charge jump locked. So there's a lot of different options that might be mean to these runners and make them do a longer dig. So we're going to see Apple immediately head over into that valley using the teleporter, and she's going to start making those checks, looking for that Sunstone and finishing out the tree here.
Yeah, there's like a very wide range of possibilities that Valley could mean. There's a bunch of pickups that are just like right out in the open, and they really hope that it's one of those. That said, there's a very wide number of pickups that are also just like awful to get without certain skill pickups. So, whether that's a good clue or a bad clue for them remains to be seen.
Yeah, they both have that same mindset going into it. They know the Sunstone is somewhere in this gigantic area, and they're going to be checking as many checks as they can for it, and just hoping that it is not locked by something that they have not found yet.
Really interesting to see. I feel like early on in the seed, Grimelios was definitely ahead, and it was mostly just on like, slightly cleaner movement here and there, slightly faster choices of movement. But now that Apple has the double jump and Grimelios doesn't, I feel like they've at the very least equalized here. Like they've made roughly the same progression and are now choosing to do almost the same things. It's just that Apple has that double jump ability, which is going to be really big, especially if they don't find other ways to get verticality in Ginso.
Yeah, for sure. I think Apple definitely is in the driver's seat right now. She does have a little bit of an edge as far as where they are on the map, and as well as that double jump and that grenade pickup. It looks like both runners are opting to come stomp the rocks as opposed to doing a fast stompless. I like this. It's less room for error, and they have the skill set to get over to it. So they're going to both be picking up their feather right at approximately the same exact time.
Yep, pretty much synced up here, like within a few seconds of the same cutscene here. Now, the interesting thing is going to be where do they go from here? So they don't have wind restored, so it is a little difficult to get into Sorrow, but it is doable. And with the feather, they can explore quite a bit in there. They can continue to search around Valley here, looking for that Sunstone and more progression. They could even start to head into Misty, although I think we are likely to see them put that off for later. One of the really nasty things about Misty, before you know where your dungeon keys are, is, if it turns out that dungeon key is in the back half of Misty, it's really easy to force yourself to do like a second revisit through all of Misty, which takes a long time.
Yeah, so we are seeing a divergence here. Grim was checking a couple of those lower valley checks to see if he could potentially find the Sunstone. Meanwhile, Apple is heading into Sorrow, which with her skill set is pretty quick. After probably head straight, knocking down those trees.
And Grim also going to Sorrow now as well, just a little bit further back. I definitely understand maybe like slightly more hesitancy to go to Sorrow without that double jump pickup. Sorrow is an area where you're expected to have a lot of ability to stay in the air, and when you're lacking double jump like this, it can be pretty nasty.
Oh, Grim doing a beautiful double bash chain to get that spider projectile to the vertical wall there. That is way tighter than he made that look. He's making these difficult tricks look easy.
Yeah, I think Grim is making a strong statement with his execution in this race. He's done pretty much everything he's tried to do within the first couple of tries. Very impressive work by him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does moving around Sorrow. So he did have a little bit of a keystone advantage, so potentially that's on his mind. He's going to be able to get into this Dorito cave fairly easily once he is able to manipulate this spider shot, and that's going to open up quite a few checks for him. The runners still are kind of lacking in the resource department. Apple notably is missing quite a few keystones, but that's not going to be a gigantic issue. Meanwhile, Grim has the extra keystones, so he's just going to go ahead and use those on the Dorito door.
And all of a sudden, we've got Apple on 9 trees. I feel like that really snuck up on us there. As soon as they found like bash and double jump and stuff, their ability to progress the seed very quickly just like exploded. We went from very linear and locked early on to like super jet seed here all of a sudden.
Yeah, and Grim without that double jump pickup is struggling with this lower vertical door area. It's pretty difficult to get through here. Those spikes are not friendly at all, and they deal 4 damage, and he only has 6 HP. So basically, anytime he grazes those, he's going to die. But he's able to make it through, and is going to wind up checking out some of these pickups in Sorrow. Meanwhile, Apple making her way through Misty.
Yeah, and one very nice thing that I'm liking about Apple's routing here, Misty is tree number 9 for her, which means as she gets to the climb tree, she's going to get the clue for the water vein, which means she will know if she needs to keep going further into Misty. This means that there's no chance that she's like forced into a revisit that has to redo the first half of Misty again. Now, that said, some of the stuff in the second half of Misty could be a little gnarly with their skill set, but it's definitely like she knows if she needs to keep on going and whether she can just leave immediately.
Yeah, and importantly, she's not going to get locked out of anything because there is that one grenade lock check at the end of Misty. And it's a real shame if you do have a dungeon key in here and you make it all the way to the end without grenade and are unable to do that pickup. But she should be able to make her way to the climb tree and get that final clue fairly trivially.
All right, so starting to think forward to the final escape here. As far as their ability to get through the rooms of the final escape, Bash definitely makes most of it not a problem. Grim with no verticality may have just a little bit of trouble getting up the vertical area, but one of the things they do need to worry about a little bit is their health. They've only got 5 and 6 HP, and they do not have clean water. They do have Stomp though, so like 5 HP can get them through the Poison Swim at the end. It just doesn't leave them any room for any incidental damage outside of that.
Yeah, and I know Apple was working her way up through the blue tree, so she will likely have double defense before heading into the final escape because they did pick up Spirit Light efficiency. So all of that XP is going to be doubled when they're trying to clear out these areas to find the dungeon keys.
And I do know, just like from talking to him, Grim definitely is not going to be going for Sense. He is a green tree all the way type of player, so I suspect he will probably also be able to get to Ultra Defense for the final escape as well.
Oh, did you see that water vein?
I sure did.
Forlorn. Let's go.
That's excellent. So Forlorn is an area that it's definitely one of the less common areas to see in the randomizer, just because it's a big, very out of the way area that does not have a tree in it. So anytime you get to see Forlorn in the randomizer, definitely a treat. Their current skill set can definitely get around Forlorn quite well. They don't have the teleporter, I don't believe, so they do have to go in from Valley. So they can, take time to check all of that stuff for the Sunstone on their way, and then once they're there, clear out as much of Forlorn as it takes to find their water vein.
Yeah, so we do have the clue that the Gumon seal is in Hollow Grove, so Apple is making her revisit to potentially get that dungeon key. That is, in my mind, way better than, there's the Forlorn teleporter right before getting the seal. So that's a pretty quick location for them. That I was about to say, hunting for the dungeon key is something that you can do without like trying to luck into finding the teleporter, but she just lucks into finding the teleporter.
Yeah, I definitely think she got bailed out there just a little bit. Maybe not bailed out is the right decision, just because both runners are going to have to do it anyway. But very lucky to have found that so quickly. Now she can just immediately go here and find her water vein. What will be interesting to see is if she chooses to, while she's here in Forlorn, after she finds the water vein, will she leave the Forlorn door and search those like bottom of Valley pickups outside the door, or will she just like go to Ginso, look for stuff there, and then return to Valley later on as the last thing?
Or do you think she ends with the escape to get the stomp hint? Because it's potentially that Sunstone is stomp locked in Valley.
Well, both of these runners have Stomp, so I think it's unlikely that she would do the escape for the Stomp hint, but stranger things have happened.
Oh, maybe Grim does it for the grenade hint. I want to see Forlorn escape. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, any reason to make the Forlorn escape happen is definitely super cool. So if you're not super familiar with the randomizer, there is a modified effect in the Forlorn escape. Because there are pickups that are locked behind exclusively Grenade and Stomp, there's a plant at the end of the Forlorn escape that if you break it, it will give you clues as to what area those two skills are in. Now these runners do have both of those skills already, so they have no reason to do it, but if you find yourself in a seed where like you have everything else, you just need Grenade because you know that like your water vein is grenade locked. You can go do the Forlorn escape and find out where it is.
Yeah, and Apple looks like she's setting up for a interesting glitch here. If you jump off of the platform, the upper platform in Forlorn, and float into the cutscene, when you die, you're going to respawn near the door. So she's taking an intentional death here to respawn right at the door to check this final pickup. It usually takes quite a bit of time to get down to that area, and it is the water vein.
There it is. All right, she's got her water vein. Looks like she's deciding not to leave by the front door. Oh, no, maybe she changed her mind. I think she remembered that there's some pickups out there that could be the Sunstone. Yeah, that's what she's going to do. She's going to check these while she's here. I think that's a great decision. Like, there's no other more convenient time to come do these because they're in Valley, but they're far away from the teleporter. So I definitely agree with doing this right now.
Yeah, so I think there's only one check that they won't be able to get, and that is the climb, charge, jump locked check. So hopefully it is not there. They do still have quite a few of these valley checks that they can do. And there is the Sunstone right at the exit to Forlorn. Apple is in complete go mode. She's gonna head to Ginso and then head to Horu to finish off this seed. Meanwhile, Grim clearing out the rest of Forlorn, checking these to try to find his water vein.
Apple has played this seed extremely well. Like, she did get a little fortunate to have found double jump the way that she did, but like every decision she's made outside of that has been very, very good and has paid off, and she's getting rewarded very, very much here. Like, she's, I would say, like the heavy favorite to win at this point. To what would need to happen for Grim to win now is Apple needs to have some troubles, and Grim needs to find like charge jump pretty soon because his verticality problems in Ginso are pretty severe at this point.
Yeah, he is not going to have a good time with that. I'm going to be very interested to see what decision he makes after finding this water vein. Meanwhile, Apple making her way through Ginso. This skill set is complete go mode for her. She has triple jump. She's going to be skilling into ultra defense. This is going to be a very, very quick Ginso. I would be surprised if she does any checks from here on out.
Looks like she's still deciding to make a few checks here and there as she goes, the ones that are at least on the way. The biggest thing that she could find here would certainly be dash. That would speed up the rest of the seed here for her quite a bit. That said, there's not that much seed left for her, so and if she doesn't find it, no big deal. It would definitely just be like comfortable and nice to have for the final escape.
Yep, and Grim then catching up on mapstones. There was fortunately nothing hidden behind mapstones, so both runners didn't get any advantage from that. And Grim is setting up for that same glitch to get to the front of Forlorn from this middle cutscene, just hopping into it, picking up these last two checks, and then eventually he will find his water vein.
I think we would expect to see Grim do the same play where he checks the pickups outside of here and will find his Sunstone as well fairly quickly. And from there, the problem that he's going to face is that the only thing left tree-wise is Ginso, and he just doesn't have any way to go up the second room of it currently. And it's really unfortunate, but like he's just going to have to search around for a skill, and he doesn't have a clue as to where to go. He just needs to kind of like pick an area that's pickup dense and start looking. And every second that he's doing that, Apple is pushing closer and closer to the finish here.
Yeah, it is really unfortunate that double jump was basically locked by verticality that Apple had since minute 10 of this seed. Grim's decision to not do the Indiana Jones area of lower BRB is going to come back and bite him, unfortunately.
Yeah, and like to be clear, that's not a mistake. Like it's very valid to just follow the logic because like the randomizer knows it has to play skills in logic to get you to be able to go forward. So sticking to the logic is like a smart play for finding yourself some skills, especially in a fairly linear seed like this was. It's just that, every once in a while making an out-of-logic play pays off big, and it very much paid off big here. Now, that said, I also do not want to discount how well Apple has been playing. I'm really, really impressed by like how well she routed this seed. And like, even though she was a little behind early on, she took great advantage of that double jump find and is doing really, really well here.
Yeah, it looks like Grim is going to be finishing out Forlorn. Potentially he's going to do the last two checks on the right-hand side and potentially doing the escape to find Grenade. At this point, it would just be kind of a blind search for verticality, whereas he knows that Grenade, if he gets the clue, is something that is known. Doing a quick key dupe here to get a couple more keystones, and then heading on to the right side of Forlorn. Meanwhile, Apple just kind of making short work of the Horu approach. Nothing really else in her way. She's going to be heading on to the final dungeon.
I really, really like this play from Grim. Like you said, blind searching around for a skill is just, it's really awful because you could literally pick anywhere in the world and just have to start looking around in it. Whereas he knows that there is a grenade clue here if he goes and does this. Now, it is a big time investment, but the ability to like pinpoint in where you need to be searching is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I'm going to be very interested when this seed is over to see where charge jump is, because that was likely the logical access into lower BRB without having dash. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what where the randomizer decided to put those skills.
All right, so Apple's a final escape on the right-hand side here. We're actually going to be seeing simultaneous escapes here, like one ice and one fire. Pretty cool here. But Apple is going to be doing this escape to finish out her seed. Now, notably, she did not end up getting ultra defense, and her health is still pretty low, so any incidental damage is going to be too much for her to survive the swim at the very end. So she has to play the entire rest of the escape cleanly in order to be able to actually finish it out.
Yeah, she does have a billion jumps though. I think she's sitting on quad jump at this point, picking up one of those extra double jump pickups. So it should be a fairly comfy escape. I don't think she's going to have too much trouble, barring that potential fish swim.
All right, this room coming up here is definitely one of the easier places to take some damage, but with that many jumps and bash makes it look super easy and clean. Now she just has to avoid this fire and get a relatively clean swim. She does have 6 health, so she's got some buffer for this area here. Definitely want to avoid getting hit by a fish, though. Now she looks like she's just going to float up this area here, which is fairly easy. You just really don't want to trigger Kuro here, and she avoids it very nicely. Pretty much nothing standing in the way of her in finishing now.
Yep, and that is going to be Apple finishing off the seed. She just has some hold bright to go ahead and take her victory on the upper bracket round 2. Grim is finishing out the forlorn escape. He's going to be getting that hint to where Grenade is, and he's just making his way through this escape. This is the best escape, so I'm glad we get to see it, even if it is unfortunate that it's due to him missing the grenade pickup earlier.
He does see that it's in Blackroot. I gotta have a feeling that once he checks that and knows that like that was where Grenade was, and it could have could have been his so much earlier, he's probably gonna realize that's what cost him the seed. But it's just unfortunate that it ended up falling out this way.
Yeah, but GG's to Apple. She played really, really well. I think that like both of our runners played very efficiently, and it really did just come down to that one check, that grenade, the extra verticality there. Really unfortunate that is what happened, and it is quite a big upset for Apple to take this, being the lower seed. But again, she played very, very well.
Yeah, I think she made a really strong statement here. I think she was seeded 24th. That's definitely not a bad position, but she was definitely like, Grim was 9th, so definitely favored to win here. And Apple very clearly making a statement that like she can very much hang with the higher seeded runners here. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see how she does going forward in this tournament.
Yeah, we're getting a final time of 48 minutes, 43 seconds for Apple. That is a pretty good for a seed that had dungeon keys on not the nicest of locations.
Yeah, fantastic time. I mean, especially for a dashless seed, 48 minutes is quite good. Also considering how like relatively linear and locked up the beginning part of the seed was, that really speaks to like how incredibly efficient the routing from these runners was here. And I expect once Grim finds his grenade here, he's just going to immediately push to the end and is also going to come in with a fairly good time as well.
Yeah, he's just going to be clearing out this Blackroot area, probably a little bit confused, but he's going to go ahead and pick up that grenade check, immediately alt R's out, and is likely heading to Appietreee at this point.
I will note, Grim did mention ahead of this that he doesn't watch any of the windows or anything during the race, so likely he has not actually seen the message that Apple is finished. He just likes to, stay focused on his own race, play it as best as he can, and see what happens at the end. So, definitely will be a little disappointing at the very end for him once he sees that Apple was able to take the win from him, but that's how the cookie crumbles. I think both racers played it quite well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to be that disappointed when he goes back and sees how well she played. That was pretty crazy. Very, very clean on both runners' sides, just coming down to that one pickup. We're going to see if we can get Apple in for an interview here real quick.
Well, we have her in on deck. We'll see if we can get her down here in just a minute. But in the meantime, we are seeing Grim continue straight up his tree, also doing some of the quicker checks, similarly to how Apple did, just seeing if he can happen to find Dash or something like that. If he lucks into it, gets to speed up the end of his seed just a little bit. We do already know that, of course, that won't be found, but there's no reason not to be checking it on your way here.
Hello, Apple. Congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
All right, so first question, definitely super big congratulations to you. You definitely were, I think, as far as the seeding is concerned, definitely the underdog here. You know, how are you feeling about this race going into it, and how are you feeling about it now that you claimed the victory?
Oh my gosh. I don't have like the live split chat open while racing, so I only opened it after getting into the final cutscene. And I was totally expecting Grimelios to be already like done for like 10 minutes, and it wasn't. And then so my heart started going really, really fast. So please don't finish before me. And oh my gosh!
Well, we were both super impressed with your routing. You did this seed extremely, extremely well. You'll definitely see how the seed progressed if you go back and watch it. But I think like the defining moment was you finding double jump. The order of things you found, like grenade into double jump, just like opened up your possibilities a lot and enabled you to kind of overtake Grimelios here and claim the victory. So that was really, really good play on your part. Great routing overall.
Thank you. I'm gonna be, yeah, I'm definitely watching that back. I don't know, I found Bash pretty late. I could have gotten that earlier. The first time I went to, where was it? Yeah, it was in Grotto, I think. And I was sitting there thinking, oh no. Oh no. But then, yeah, I don't know, it worked.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see you and Grim had different approaches to getting to right side. What made you decide to go through the Gumo hideout through Blackroot Burrows as opposed to going through Spider Stack?
Well, I had Stomp, and that opens that. I know it wasn't in logic, but I had a lot of keystones, so I was assuming that I would get enough to be able to get to Flame Tree anyway. And I found a load more in Grotto then, so yeah, I was thinking of going down, checking a few pickups, and seeing how many keystones I got before actually then going to the double jump tree and doing that part as well. Because I was worried that I might softlock myself not having enough keystones to get to the spirit tree through spirit caverns.
Makes a lot of sense. So I guess last question for me is, how did you feel about, despite being a grenade-starved seed and you both being controller runners that don't want Bash Grenade, like within the first 40 or 50 pickups, you guys had Bash Grenade?
Well, I found Bash a little later, so it wasn't that early. Finding Grenade, I was like, huh, okay, so either Dash is super late or it's one of those grenade-starved seeds that still give you Grenade early. And then I never found Dash, so I guess, well, I guess there are other ways of getting in there as well, but yeah, I wonder where Dash was, actually. Yeah, and then as soon as I have other skills, I don't mind Bash Grenades. It's just if you have, like, nothing else, that's when it gets horrible on controller.
Yeah,
Makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, again, congrats on your win. Next, you're going to be facing the winner of Shafe and Sloters. Is there any? Do you have any preference of which of those two that you'd go up against in round 3?
Well, if I could just pick one, it would probably be Sloters. But I'm probably going to be facing Shafe, unless Sloters manages something like I did today. So yeah, we'll see. I'm pretty scared for that one, yeah. Either way it goes, really.
Well, you definitely should get a big confidence boost from your performance here today, so good luck to you in that race as well. Meanwhile, we are seeing Grimelios just finish up his escape as well, is now going to be holding right, should be coming in with like about a 57 or so, which, you know, very well played by him for a dashless seed that was pretty locked up at the beginning, and to have gotten really like unfortunately blocked by not finding that double jump pickup. Definitely a good time for him. Even though he will be dropping to the lower bracket, I expect we will definitely still be seeing a lot of good play out of Grimelios here.
Yeah, I'm fully expecting him to rampage through this lower bracket. He definitely has this. He definitely is proving that he has the skill to knock out some players. Doing a lot of those very difficult tricks close to first try or first try. Very impressive play from him, and very efficient as well.
We just got an update from the truck as to where the remaining important skills were. Charge jump was in the under the water in the swamp swim, which is incredibly difficult to get without clean water. And dash was, drum roll, in Horu down by the teleporter down to the right. So basically impossible for them to have found prior to this point. And really, once you're in there, there's just like no check to have gone and gotten it anyway.
Yeah, so it looks like logical progression was to do Ginso escape, get clean water, and then head down to that charge jump location.
All right, and Grim finished up as well. Now that he has finished up, probably opened up the window and seen that he unfortunately will be taking a loss today, but we'll try and get him in for an interview if he's interested as well and get his thoughts on the seed. And either way, definitely going to be excited to see how he performs going forward in the lower bracket.
What happened?
Hey there, Grim. So the basic like TLDR is the grenade pickup that was in BRB enabled with some verticality to find double jump really early on for Apple, and just having access to double jump opened up a lot of stuff that was enabled her to like really cleanly route the seed and finish it up.
Nice. Well, yeah, I'll look forward to watching it back. Sorry to suddenly hijack the interview. I was just curious.
Oh, no problem at all. No problem at all. Yeah, I mean, me and Sunny were both definitely talking the whole time about like both players were making excellent decisions given the information they had. It just kind of mostly came down to that double jump pickup, really, which you know, that's how rando goes sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah, sure is. That's okay though. I'm still happy with that. I had a few execution mistakes, and the Forlorn Orb just kind of didn't come back to me once for some reason. But otherwise, I don't think I had too many like deaths that cost me a lot of time or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess first question would basically be, it seemed like your strategy in the seed was mostly to just try and pursue what the logic was wanting you to do. And, you know, early on it was pretty locked up, and then like the seed was fairly linear, and then later on it opened up quite a bit. Is pursuing the logic primarily, is that like just like a strategy you always go for, or was there something about this seed that made you want to try and stick to that?
I actually don't know that I was playing to logic. For the first portion of the seed, it was pretty linear. You know, maybe it would have turned out that my experience would have allowed me to do Funky Walk or something, but otherwise, I don't think I had much of a choice except to go the slow way around. By the time I found Bash, I knew that almost everything was available to me, especially because I already had both left side teleporters. Well, the two of the left side teleporters. But without extra verticality, it would have kind of sucked to go over there too early, which is why I spent more time on the right side. So, yeah, I don't think I was thinking about logic very much. It's just that I knew I needed more stuff, like at least one more skill to make it through the seed, if only for that second room of Ginso.
All right, makes a lot of sense. So looking forward at the bracket, looks like Avenged is going to be your opponent in the lower bracket. How do you feel about that match going forward? And is being in the lower bracket going to change your style of play at all?
The answer to the second question is no. I don't think that my playstyle would drastically change against any opponents. Of course, it sucks to get randoed, but my priority has always been just playing cleanly to what I have available in the knowledge I had. For example, you mentioned that, we know, all of us now, that Grenade was behind that boulder in Blackroots, but it didn't make sense for me to go there in this seed, especially because it wasn't in logic early with Climb. So my point just being that it would be one thing if I made a mistake, like, that was obviously in logic, but I didn't, to my knowledge, in this seed, which is what I'm happy about. And so going forward to Avenged, I plan to just, play the same way. Maybe I get randoed again, maybe, hopefully, neither of us gets randoed. But I'm looking forward to it.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Apple.
Sonny, you got any questions for Grim?
Thank you.
No, I think we're good to start closing it out.
All right, very good. So once again, I was Roos SR, and we had Sunny Muffins here on commentary. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, of course. And we do have some more Ori action coming up tomorrow on Thursday. First thing in the morning at 8 a.m. in the morning, EDT, we have Grem versus Spect. And later on, we have at 7 p.m. EDT, we have Shafe versus Sloters. So that's going to be deciding who goes up against Apple in round 3.
Very cool, very cool. And I also would very much like to shout out, we've got Grease on the restream, and we had Fox Diamond, and who did I miss the other tracker was? I'm so sorry.
Liftoff.
Liftoff, right. Yes, sorry, I didn't see their name in the live here. Yeah, the restreamers and the trackers are like absolutely the unsung heroes here. They're behind the scenes doing incredible work that makes these performances like go so much better. So huge thanks to them.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Hope to see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. on this Speed Gaming channel for some more Ori randomizer action.
Have a good night, everybody.